On the panel, I'll just do a quick introduction and they'll introduce themselves, but on the panel we have Chantel Pinder from the Calgary Winter Club, just to my right, and then Sarah Hernandez Silva from Flexpipe Systems, and we have Jenna Anderson, Shelley Billingshurst, and Sean Daly from ENMAX Corporation. So I'm going to turn it over to the panel now, and we'll begin with Chantel, who will give a brief presentation on Calgary Winter Club.
Wow, this is far more comfortable to sit here. Is my mic on? Yes. All right, I'm Chantel Pinder. I'm the Human Resources Manager at the Calgary Winter Club. I've been there for just over 8 years. And I absolutely love my job. I love the club, my employer, and I love everyone that I work with. I consider myself very fortunate to have found the opportunity that I have, and it would take quite a lot for me to leave this. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the Winter Club. For those of you that commute on 14th Street Northwest, I really apologize for all the traffic disruptions that we've caused. However, our expansion, as far as the traffic, affecting the traffic, has been alleviated. We have opened our new facilities, and I have to say that, you know, we, as employees, we were pretty proud of our club to begin with. Now that we have this expansion, we're just beaming. And it's not just the staff that are beaming, the members. We had a grand opening, and it was just, everybody was just wow. That's all you can say was just wow. It exceeded expectations, and you know, for the most part, under budget. Touch wood, we haven't seen all the bills yet, and no accidents. So that is always a bonus too. Now, our club is it's now over 285,000 square feet. Our recent expansion added about 85,000 square feet, so we almost added 50% to our square footage, which was significant from a resourcing standpoint, as well as we are in a limited footprint, and our parking lot doesn't get any bigger. So that's probably going to be the next thing we have to address, is parking. We are a private member-owned club on the corner of John Laurie and 14th Street. We have approximately 7,000 members, 2,900 of which are shareholders of the club. We are in our 53rd year of operation. We currently have about 400 employees, full and part-time, in roles related to, now this is a long list, swimming, fitness, bowling, curling, skating, tennis, badminton, squash, preschool, childcare, climbing, basketball, volleyball, running, gymnastics, housekeeping, everything food and beverage, and administration. And as I read that out loud, I thought of a few others that I didn't have in the list, but you get the point. Given our varied positions and often uncommon skill requirements and member expectations, it seems that recruiting for many of the positions at the club is as different as are the days of the week. One position we can easily advertise within a network of colleagues by email. Sometimes it's easy as posting something on Calgary Job Shop. Then the next position is best advertised with national and international sports organizations. For this reason, it's really important for the club to maintain contact regarding our openings with agencies that assist those having difficulty entering or re-entering the workforce. We have found many of our very best people from less than obvious places. We must be vigilant in being active in our community, and we seek new opportunities to address our own shortfalls with respect to people management. I'll address the two most significant challenges that we face in recruiting. Given the size of our facility, there are some parts of our operation that must run 24/7. One of the biggest challenges then is the night shift or the graveyard. These positions reside typically in housekeeping and maintenance. And there are some things that just cannot be done during member usage hours, or there are not enough hours during our operating time frame to get everything done, simply because, for example, we have only so many washing machines to wash towels and linens. We do our own linens for our banquets and whatnot. There's only so many washing machines, so whatever doesn't get done during the day has to be done through the night. And then our second challenge we face is the assumption of job candidates who apply to the club who expect that because we are a private club, we must pay really high, which isn't the case. We are just like any other organization who pays whatever the market will bear, and we differentiate ourselves with the benefits that we provide to our staff. For example, if you're not familiar with the private aspect of our club, right now our entrance fee is $35,000. Not a lot of people have that available or are able to consider that. So as an employee of the club, if you work 12 hours a week or more, you get free access to the club. So that's a significant benefit that not many other employers can offer. Maybe the Gongo, but so that is important to us, is really making sure that what we offer to our staff is in the benefits and the work-life balance and that type of thing. Now I'd like to speak specifically about our inclusion initiatives. About 4 years ago, the management at the club decided to make a conscious review of our hiring policies and practices to identify and reduce barriers to employing a more diverse workforce. To other organizations, that may seem like an enviable experience to having started this 4 years ago, but we firmly believe that there is never a point where we will know everything, and we still have to deal with the odd, ill-informed biases. Each person, regardless of ability, presents their own uniqueness and opportunity. So the only standard we do not bend on is be nimble and be humble. Seek to understand before being understood. And we have experienced a number of successes working with service providers in our recruitment efforts. I'd like to highlight one that has been most rewarding for us. We were approached by an organization seeking an unpaid practicum or work experience opportunity for people coming through a particular training program. Because we didn't have any suitable openings at the time, the unpaid opportunity made it more palatable for us. Typically, I don't favor unpaid work terms, but going into this, I thought, okay, I've got some money, I've got earmarked. If this works out, I might be in a position to gain an honorarium in this aspect. So I just wanted to, I don't want to encourage people doing unpaid practicums, but in this instance, it worked very well for us. The 1-month practicum not only provided necessary work experience for the participants of this particular program, it was a tremendous learning opportunity for our supervisors, as there was coaching for our supervisors involved. Our supervisors learned it was okay to not know all the answers and to ask when unsure. Never have they been given such a great example of why you do not make assumptions. Seek clarity, build up the person as opposed to dismantling them. In other words, seek what a person can do versus what they cannot. As the 2 candidates worked for us through this program, observation and feedback developed within the immediate work group, and the experience was shared with the rest of the supervisory team at the club. Shortly after the end of the 2 practicums, both candidates had permanent positions at the club and are now part of our team. We were also able to provide an honorarium to the 2 candidates in recognition for their work through the practicum. Our experience with this provider and others we've had success, have a foundation of continued communication and understood expectations. It is rare that when we are seeking to fill an opening, a service provider has a candidate looking for that exact job at that exact time, those exact hours, that exact pay. So when we have an opening, particularly frontline or entry level, we need to hire right away. And I'd say probably 80% of our postings are frontline positions. When we post an ad for these positions, we anticipate to begin interviewing the next day, and then hiring within a day or 2 of that. Our experience is that has been in the past with service providers, many do not have the internal processes in place to facilitate applications from their clients that quickly. Up to about a year ago, we sent postings by email to a network of service providers. Some would respond right away, some would take a week, and sometimes there was a back and forth that took longer than the time for us to actually hire somebody. Sometimes the email wouldn't get out for every posting for one reason or another, and I have to say there were some missed opportunities just due to timing and pressures. To prevent missing an opportunity, one of the service providers we work with regularly has created an anonymous job seeker profile in Calgary Job Shop, because we post all of our postings on Job Shop. They set up a job posting auto email notification whenever we post a new opening. So whenever we post something, they get an email saying Calgary Winter Club has posted this position. When we were discussing the challenges that we were experiencing as far as being able to get the email out and letting different organizations know, and the organization that we were working with, them being able to keep tabs of what we were doing, we found that this resume agent was probably the best thing for both of us. I didn't have to worry about sending them an email saying, hey, we have this opening. They didn't have to keep phoning me and try and coordinate what exactly it was that we were looking for. So it killed two birds with one stone. And I'd like to share a couple things regarding our present and our near future. We've just launched what we're calling the Calgary Winter Club University. We were experiencing what I refer to as raising to your level of incompetence. We had somebody who would start as a hostess in a restaurant, really good as a hostess. Typically they're under the age of 18, so when they turn 18, they have the experience with their menu, with customer service, and they're promoted to server. They gain experience as a server. They're highly qualified, they're impeccable as far as their delivery as being a server, but then we promote them to be a supervisor or a manager with absolutely no training for that type of a role. But they got it because they were so good at being a server. So we recognized some of our shortfalls in that aspect and created this university so that we're supporting people. It's open to all staff. You don't necessarily have to be earmarked to or identified as being part of the succession program. It's open to all staff, and it's courses including human resources, business planning and operations, strategic planning, accounting and finance, and that's all I can think of right now. But that's one of the things that we wanted to provide to staff who may not necessarily have the ability to afford or attend post-secondary education, but we see a lot of ability and potential in them to advance within the organization. Second, in January we launched a mentoring program. It's a one-year formal program and up to 2 years an informal program after that year. And again, that was something that we identified where some people, they're not sure where they want to go. They don't know what programs or university they might want to take or what field. So the mentoring program does a lot with partnering with somebody who facilitates not just a relationship between the mentor and the mentee, but if something comes up where it's like, I think you would really benefit from talking to somebody in the human resources field. I'd love to set up a few meetings with you and our HR manager. And so it's facilitated that way. And we also, this last summer, we launched our own internal Toastmasters program. Some people have, I'd say 90% of people are not comfortable speaking in front of a group of people. And particularly with our expansion, we had a number of members, upset about parking issues. Why is this shut down? How come I didn't know about this? And just being able to respond to inquiries like that, some people really found it awkward and difficult to respond. And so we thought, what's the best way to teach communication skills without, attacking them? So we found that Toastmasters was a great group to start up for our staff to start building up those skills. Let me just see if I'm missing anything else here. And then we also, so identifying the shortfalls that we had in our recruitment efforts, we were focused so strongly on that, we forgot to look at barriers that might exist in our performance management, succession planning, and that type of thing. So we started to look at those. We've started to remove some of those barriers and open things up for staff, whether the barriers to them are financial, time because of family, they've got family commitments outside of work, so they're not able to attend school or that type of thing, so we want to provide training right at work, and or any other limitation that might be imposed on them outside of their control. So looking at that, we have addressed some of the things, but we certainly know, especially from looking at our recruitment and onboarding, we don't know what we don't know, and we certainly want to be cognizant of that. And the most important thing to us is, like I said, we need to be nimble and be humble, because not knowing the answer doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means you have an opportunity to learn something. That's all I have.
It's my turn. I will apologize. I had a really bad cold this weekend. I'm still getting over. So if you guys can understand what I'm saying, let me know. I know my coworkers are having a hard time too sometimes. My name is Sarah Hernandez Silva. I'm an HR business partner at Flexpipe Systems. As you can probably tell from my name, we make a flexible pipe that's used as an alternative to the traditional pipes, traditional steel pipes that are used in the oil and gas industry. Right now, they're very small. We've got 2, 3, and 4-inch pipes, but we've got a new product that's going to start going out for commercialization early next year. It's going to bring up the diameter to 6 and 8 inches, so hopefully opening up brand new markets for us. We've already got some early adopter customers in line, so we're very excited. What I'm trying to get at is that we are a rapidly growing company. I've been at Flexpipe now for 11 months and 5 days, and in that time, I've hired 85 new people. We've just hit our biggest number yet. We're at 325 people as of last Thursday when we last did a head count. Right? That's huge growth. And we're hoping to be at 700, or at least close to 700 by the end of 2014. So just over a year, and we're going to more than double. That's crazy, right? The reason I was brought on to Flexpipe is because I've been in other companies. I've been in another company that went through that exact same growth phase. It was really aggressive growth projections. And they brought me onto Flexpipe so I can kind of help them from the HR side kind of work through those changes, because that is a lot of change to put on our employees, right? Especially some of our long-standing employees who have been there for 8 or 9 years. Right? No one's hit the 10-year mark yet, because we are still pretty young. So it's been a very exciting transition for me. There is a lot of change, and I always thought I was someone who really thrived on change. But one of the things that I've learned is that I too am a little bit change averse, right? So it's been a lot of learning for me, as well as I learned how to work through the changes and how to help lead the company through walking our employees through these changes. It is very exciting. Obviously, it is a very positive change. Our employees do see the awesome opportunities and possibilities that are available for them in a company that's doubling in size, right? So it is definitely a good news story. The types of positions that we have at Flexpipe are a little bit different than what I've worked with in the past. Engineers, yes, work tons with engineers, but our engineers are very specialized. I don't even know what they do. A lot of our engineers have PhDs in plastics and composites and things like that that we have to bring in from all over North America. You know, just because we don't necessarily have that skill set here in Calgary. Most of our junior and intermediate engineers do come from the local market, but when we're hiring senior engineers or managers, we are finding that we do have to go out east or into the U.S. and sometimes even internationally. So we've actually been doing a lot of interviewing down in Argentina and Venezuela as well for some of our managers. Right? Surprisingly enough. The challenges with filling positions, those types of positions, of course, is the local market. There aren't that many people, that many engineers in Calgary who have that materials background. Our pipe is flexible because it's made out of composite plastic material, right? Our commitment to our customers is that it has a long-standing life, that it is strong, it is durable, it is more environmentally friendly because it's easier, first of all, to install, and it doesn't have the same problems that traditional pipes do in terms of leaking and breaking and cracking because of its long lifespan and because of the material that it's made of, right? So that's definitely one challenge, is finding the people with that knowledge. Other positions that we hire, of course, are the technicians, millwrights, electricians, Obviously, as we grow, we also need to hire lots of sales and marketing people, people in finance. So really the kind of the whole gamut of business to support all of our engineers. However, our biggest employee base is in the production floor. We are a manufacturing company after all, so that's our lifeblood, is the people who actually make our pipe here in Calgary. Of the 325 employees that we have right now, 145 are production staff, just to give you kind of an idea of how many of them there are, right? So it is an interesting position. We do run a 24/7 operation just to make sure that we actually can keep up with customer demands. And another good news story is right now, even producing at capacity, we can't meet our customer demands. We've already sold enough pipe to keep us in production through to the end of next year, and that's not including our new product, right? So we're doing really well, and it's an exciting company. So how do we recruit for all of our people? It really depends. Again, our biggest base is the production staff. So for our production staff, we find that we do a lot of recruiting through referrals, right? We've stopped going through agencies because we found that the people that were coming through from agency weren't actually passing our physical, our medical physicals and the drug tests, the drug screening that they have to do ahead of time. Health and safety is very important in our facility, right? So we are pretty stringent on putting people through these tests before they are able to come onto our production floor. So we did have to move away from the agencies, and we found that through the internal referrals, people are actually referring people who are going to be able to be successful in the recruiting process, but also in their employment at Flexpipe. If we have to, then we will go through some job fairs, or we will post. You know, in the Herald, we did some radio campaigns a couple, or actually, yeah, 2 months ago now, because it's already November. So in early September, we did some radio ads through Alberta radio and stuff. So that actually helped to drive a lot of the recruitment for our production staff. For our professional staff, it's mainly, again, we moved away from agencies. We hired a corporate recruiter who does a lot of headhunting or tracking people down on their own, doing a lot of stuff through LinkedIn as well, right? So again, hiring her, even though she's expensive, she is actually saving us a lot of money from the agency fees that we were paying out before, you know, through some of the other firms like David Applin and Conroy Ross and stuff like that, right? So she's been very cost effective for us. And the nice thing about having that corporate recruiter is that she's been able to actually get into the business, get to know all of our managers, get to know all of our teams. So she is able to find someone who will be the right fit for us, not just technically, but also for the team itself. When we're going through so much change and everything is so turbulent, no 2 days look alike, it is important that our teams are cohesive and that they do get along. So that's why that's another good thing about having Daniela in place there, is she's been able to find some really great candidates for us. And since she started, she has actually decreased the time to hire from 90 days to 45. So she's a much better recruiter than Erin and I are, for sure. How else do we recruit? And again, even for the office staff, it is a lot of referrals that we're getting, especially the engineers. Like I said, our engineers are very specialized. Our R&D technicians who do the testing on the pipe to make sure that it meets our requirements, meets the quality requirements. We get a lot of those people through internal referrals as well, just because they know people from previous companies or from programs they've done and things like that. So we found that that's been really helpful. However, we also know that if we're going to double in size, internal referrals may not be our best primary strategy, right? So everyone only knows so many people that will fit with our company. Experience working with people with disabilities, I really don't have a lot. In my previous company, we did have a few people who had visible disabilities, you know, that we did get a chance to work through. One of the ladies did develop a disability while she was employed by us, and so we did an amazing job of accommodating her. we actually built the building before we moved in, and as part of the specs for the building, we wanted to make sure it was completely accessible, easy for anyone to come in and out of the building. And so when she ended up in a wheelchair, it was easy for her to come to work. It was easy for her to go to her workstation, to go to the lunchroom. There wasn't that much of a change for her in that sense, in the mobility in the workplace, right? One of the additional accommodations that we did is her husband was also employed by us, and he was in the HQ 2 days a week, and in an off-site location 3 days a week. So we actually arranged it with her, and she loved this idea. She only had to come into the workplace those 2 days that her husband was there, and the 3 days that he was off-site, we set her up so she could work from home. So we did set up a full home office for her, you know, with all the equipment, phones, computers, everything that she would need, a desk that would fit her, so that she could continue to feel part of the team and feel that, you know, we did actually care for her success as an employee. So that was a really positive experience I had. The other experience wasn't as positive. We had a software developer who had a hearing impairment, right? And we just found that you know, when we were trying to get some new phone, a new piece of phone technology for her so she could actually participate in phone conferences better. We had a really difficult time with the vendor we were using. They were just pushing the most expensive piece of technology at us without actually giving us any stats or data of what was the best piece of equipment that would meet our needs, or, you know, doing any of those different types of analysis. They were just pushing the one thing for us, right? So in the end, one of our advisors and her had to go and do that research themselves to find a good solution for us. We were a smaller company at the time. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, right? So we wanted to make sure that we were making the best decision for her, but also for our financial situation as well, right? So we found it really disheartening that the agency that or the vendor we were working through wasn't giving us kind of a full picture of what was available to us, that she could participate in phone conferences and things like that, right? So, you know, those were really my only two experiences with people with visible disabilities. So I don't really have a lot to add in that sense. You know, I'm really brand new to this. The reason that Flexpipe has gotten involved with Viable Calgary is, first of all, we're growing. And as we continue to grow, we are going to start seeing more and more diverse people coming in and applying to our jobs and coming in for interviews and stuff like that. So we wanted to make sure that we kind of could accommodate for everyone, for anyone who wants to work at Flexpipe. And the second reason I got involved is that even though we are very health conscious at Flexpipe, it's actually, even our president, you should see him when he walks around, he always wears a sticker that says safety first starts with me, right? And he always walks around giving us all stickers. We all have to wear them when he's in the office, right? We're a very safety and healthy conscious environment. But in June, we did have an accident in our production area, and one employee ended up losing just part of a finger, right? So he's still fully functional, he can still do his job, everything worked out in the end. But we started thinking, what if something else had happened? What if he had lost his hand? What if it had been something else? You know, and all of these what ifs that we had never thought about before as a company started coming up. So, and we knew it. We started looking at our own environment and what we had. We are not very accessible, right? Even the building that we're at the Foothills Industrial is really old, and we lease it. It doesn't even have an elevator. It's stairs, right? So I had a knee injury not too long ago, and even I struggled with it. I could barely get up the stairs, right? So I did have to work from home a couple days because I couldn't move my knee. So all of these what ifs started happening. You know, like, how can we become more accessible? How can we provide our employees or potential employees with more support? So I'm really coming at you as a blank slate. I'm here to know kind of what's out there, what supports are out there for companies like us who have never really had to deal with anything, but who might have to start dealing with something in the future, right? So that's kind of what I'm hoping to get out of this, is to learn more about who you guys are and what you can provide to someone like me or to some of the other leaders in my organization. So one of the things that I know that they wanted us to touch on is what are the best ways to get to kind of network with us or talk to us. And really for us, we're a small HR team with a lot to do, right? There's a lot going on with all of this growth and with starting to actually put policies in place and programs in place and things like that. So we find that vendors who call us don't get very far. We really don't have time to sit and talk to you on the phone. To be honest, most of our communication is done by email while we're in meetings, when we're at home cooking dinner, or whatever the case may be. We don't actually have time to sit and talk to you on the phone. And even voicemails, it's not uncommon for me to go 2 or 3 days without checking my voicemails. Then I'll check my voicemails, and it takes me another 2 or 3 days to get back to those people who call, sometimes longer, right? Unless it's urgent, right? If it's urgent, I'll get back to them right away. But, you know, so for companies like us that are going through such growth phases or through such changes, phone calls don't work. But what we find has worked is when people will shoot us an email, because again, we're always online. Or we've also had some companies who have actually just sent us some really interesting marketing materials, you know, with showing case studies. Who have you worked with in the past? What have you done in the past? What have been your successes? And that's what we actually do look at those materials. We do keep them on file, and our VP does do a good job of, if something actually does catch her eye or does seem interesting, she does a good job of making sure that one of us is assigned to follow up with that person, so we can, if nothing else, learn more, right? Doesn't mean we'll get our business, but at least we'll start that conversation with you, right? So for a company like us, those are the best modes of communication. LinkedIn is also another great tool. I get most of the emails I get are through LinkedIn. So yeah, so that's all I have to say. Again, blank slate. So I'm here to learn from you. So thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Shelley Billinghurst, and I'm the manager of strategic staffing with ENMAX Corporation. I'm just going to talk a bit about ENMAX to give you an understanding. What I find is that most people see us as one thing or another. Most people, I guess citizens of Calgary, see us as City of Calgary, and we're not. We have one shareholder. We are a private corporation, and we have one shareholder, which is the City of Calgary. So I think we tried to hand out our org charts because I think a picture says 1,000 words. And so I wanted to just talk a little bit about ENMAX. And I guess before I go there, a little bit about me would be, I've been with ENMAX 3.5 years. This is year 18 for me in terms of recruiting. I have been actively recruiting in the Calgary market. It was 18 years for me in August. So joining ENMAX for me, I know I was in oil and gas, in oil sands, and having a great time, and then of course the price of oil dropped. And a search firm approached me and said, well, what about ENMAX? And I thought, why would I want to work for the City of Calgary? So I hope, is anybody here from the city? Nothing personal. My perception though, writing that down. My perception was that it was the place where my power bill comes from. And what I came to find out is that ENMAX is actually a very dynamic company. We're 5 different lines of business under one umbrella. So we have one brand that you recognize, which is the big swooshy ENMAX. And so that is where you see most of our branding. So we have out on the streets at any point in time 50 trucks that have the ENMAX E on it, and I think that's the other line of our business that most people think about is the power lineman. So that is actually our oldest division of the company, which is where we originated as part of the City of Calgary electric system. So that is certainly the crown jewel of our organization. Those are the power linemen, those are the dedicated journeymen and professionals that ensure we keep the lights on. They've been around for 100 years, and that particular part of our business is regulated. That means by the very nature of the fact that we maintain the electrical system here in the city, it is regulated in terms of how much money they make, And just by its very nature, because no one else is going to roll into town and build a power pole, come knocking on your door and say, buy your electricity from this pole because our poles are better than ENMAX's poles. It just won't happen, right? So therefore we are regulated by the Alberta Electric System Operator. So that comprises about 700 people in that part of our business. And so that would be ENMAX Power Corp. And then we have ENMAX Power Services Corp, which is kind of like a engineering, procurement, construction firm. And then we have our utility services group, which is the meter readers. It's those that go out and take the reading off your meter. They bring the data back, and then somehow it magically ends up on your electric bill. So that moves over to our next group, and that's our Encompass group. That's our call center. So ENMAX Power Corp is actually a separate legal corporate entity from ENMAX Corporation. So Power and Corp are actually two separate companies. Then we have Encompass, which is our call center, and the call center, again, is a separate corporation. And that houses about 300 employees. And the call center is both the people that take your call when you're moving, or if you have a question about your power bill, if you have a question about the recycling portion of your bill, what have you. So that is both the call center, the people that take the calls, and then the what we call back office, is the people that generate your power bill, your electricity bill that gets sent out to your homes. And that does operate as a completely separate company, but they're all under the ENMAX brand. We also have a company called Envision, and Envision provides fiber optics to corporations. So Calgary has one of the most sophisticated underground networks in North America. Only New York City and Seattle, Washington, have a more sophisticated underground network. So the manhole covers that you walk over every day, underneath there are very sophisticated networks. And one of those networks happens to be a fiber optic network that ENMAX owns. And it's called Envision. And so that part of our business has about 40 people that work there. And they supply fiber optics to, I believe, 48 out of the 52 major corporations in downtown Calgary. So it's a telecommunications company, in essence, selling fiber optics. And then we have ENMAX Energy. So ENMAX Energy is our cash register. 80% of the corporation's revenues come from ENMAX Energy, and those are corporate electricity contracts. It's a very sophisticated part of the business. When you think some people or some companies have power bills that are $1 million a month. So that is what that particular part of our business does, is selling very complex electricity contracts. That part of our business also is involved in making electricity. So I guess to sum it up, ENMAX is really in the business of making electricity, moving electricity, marketing electricity, and selling it. So that really is what we do, and we have all of those lines of business. So supporting all of those lines of business is Corp. So ENMAX Corporation houses our executive, it houses our shared services. Shared services is IT, HR, legal, environment, finance. So if you're part of Corp, we provide a service to each of the other ENMAX family of companies. So we have a centralized HR group, we have a recruitment team that's part of that HR group, and that's what myself, Sean, and Jenna are part of, is the recruitment team. So that's a little bit about things you didn't know before about ENMAX. So I'm going to hand it over to Sean, and Sean is our team lead of recruitment, and so he's got an extremely talented bunch of folks. He has 5 full-time permanent recruiters that work on his team, and Sean deals with the day-to-day looking after how are we going to fill all of the requirements to ensure that we keep the lights on for the City of Calgary.
Sounds like it can be a pretty daunting task at times when you listen to how dynamic our group is. So again, I am Sean Daly, the team lead of recruitment. I do work very closely with Shelley to execute on our recruitment and attraction strategies. What I'd like to start with is our recruitment mission that we all came up with as a team. It's to make a difference in the recruitment experience through the eyes of our leaders, employees, and candidates with the ambition to supply the right talent at the right time to ENMAX. So what's our go-to-market strategy? Very similar to what you were talking about, Sarah, is we like to look internally first at the talent that we have within our walls. True evidence of this was just this past week on Thursday, we held an internal job fair that we titled The Day in the Life of ENMAX. And what we did was we invited several different business areas across ENMAX to come and put a very simple trade show look and feel together for everybody, and just invited them down to the cafeteria to have a piece of cake and talk about, you know, what's it like to be on the trading floor, what's it like to be up at Encompass and take the phone calls, and you know, what's it like in the environment group, and to get really educated on some of the opportunities around ENMAX. We want to promote growth from within. Beyond that, we look in the Calgary market first, then followed by the province and the country overall. For some of our tough-to-fill roles, we've certainly gone internationally, but you know, as a last resort, we really want to focus on hitting the Alberta market. How do we do this? Well, as Shelley mentioned, we do have a team of 5 professional recruitment advisors, plus myself, that every day we are executing our process and our strategy to make sure that we're bringing in the top talent for ENMAX. So we follow a tried and true process that allows us to identify that top talent and limit hiring mistakes. We all know how much that can cost a company. We take the time to educate ourselves up front, which is the absolute key to what we do. We interview every single hiring manager that we work with ahead of time, because we're not the experts on what these people do every single day. So we spend about an hour with them before we even look at creating a strategy on how we recruit for these people. And we get them to tell us what it's like in their shoes, what's the perfect fit. Tell us what we can explain to these candidates when we get them to the table, what it's like to be here day to day, and what's the dynamic of your team. Why do they want this job? From there, obviously, we create a strategy that makes the most sense to go to market, whether that's posting on niche sites. We as well use a lot of LinkedIn, and we have the LinkedIn recruiter tool, so we actually do pointed searches for candidates. I know Viable will scrape our site and put it out to the sites that makes the most sense for our postings. But we use the Eludas and Indeeds of the world as well, job aggregators versus the Workopolises and Monsters these days. We will then take our short list, or we will review all resumes, take a short list of those people, present that to a hiring manager and say, who would you like us to do preliminary phone screens with? We find that it's an extremely valuable part of our process to make sure that we're not wasting their time and bringing people in who aren't qualified for particular roles or don't have everything that we're really looking for that we need in these particular positions. From there, our team will conduct all references, criminal background checks, and then interviews, and obviously all the way through to offers. So if you were to go on our site today, you'd probably wonder why we might only have 6 jobs posted, but in actuality we have close to 100 open right now. So they go in cycles, and some of them we, will work to do some of the work on the back side of that to make sure that we're looking for talent. We don't have this post and pray mentality. We really want to focus on making sure we get the right people to the table for our hiring managers. So typical positions that we might recruit for in any calendar year would be, as Shelley said, a lot of those electrical trades, whether it's power line technicians or power systems electricians. The meter readers, that's a kind of a role that everybody has a lot of questions about. They don't know what it entails, what a typical day is like. They walk 20 kilometers a day, at least, and go and read about 1,600 meters a day. It takes a particular person to want to do that sort of work every single day. We do hire a lot of customer service agents to work in our call center, and there's tons of different opportunities to move around. But about 3 times a year we will go to market and hire an external group, kind of our new crop that we want to bring in and spread around ENMAX as the years go by. Engineering is huge for us, so nice to see you have some challenges getting those people too. We hire electrical, mechanical, instrumentation and controls, a lot around reliability and maintenance for our fleet, which isn't vehicles, it's our generation fleet. Traders, we have a trading floor, so that's a talent and a skill that is rather sparse out there as well, but very interesting to get involved in that. And then our shared services, which is your IT, your human resources, finance, accounting, corporate communications, marketing, that sort of stuff. Challenges we face, again, a lot of the engineering, it is a tight market out there. We do know that the people in northern Alberta tend to throw some money at folks, and for us it's a little bit more difficult. Our value proposition has to be a little bit different about being able to go home and sleep in your own bed at night, and working in a very different industry that's very dynamic and lots to learn. But it is for sure a challenge for us to attract engineers for the generation side, but also for our ENMAX power side that's been around for 100 years. You'd think that a household name around here would help open some doors, but it still creates a challenge, right? And then IT seems to be one that we struggle with. We do have different systems in place like SAP and PeopleSoft and Maximo that are specialized, and we use different modules around our business to help manage. But you know, for some reason, I guess IT is not, or ENMAX is not the front of mind when people think about wanting to go and join an IT team. So we do have some struggles there. But that's why we partner with places like Viable and other sites to make sure that we can get these people to the table and get our jobs filled and almost render ourselves obsolete, eh, Jen? So I'll pass it on to you, and you can talk a little bit about our partnership.
Thank you. So my name is Jenna Anderson. I work as a recruitment advisor on a team with Sean and Shelley here. I absolutely love my job. The nice part about working with ENMAX is most people you come across love to work with ENMAX. We actually came across somebody in our system the other day that's worked with the company for 52 years. So people like to stay. Once they join, they stay, and it's an opportunity to really talk about with potential candidates. And oftentimes when we are speaking with potential candidates, they'll tell us that they've worked with or come across someone that works with ENMAX that always can speak so highly of our culture and our company as a whole. Of course, that leaves areas for opportunity for us as well, and part of the reason why I love working with ENMAX so much is with my team, I'm offered autonomy and a chance to really make a difference. So what we have identified is, although we do feel that we do represent the community as far as our employees overall, we have 17, almost 1,800 employees, I think, overall, we do see an opportunity to build a diverse and inclusive program going forward. And much like Sarah, we're in the very beginning phases of that. One of the steps that we're taking, a small step, in order to build more of a natural progression towards diversity and inclusion, is a work experience program. So this would be a paid work experience. It's an opportunity to assist individuals that do experience barriers of any sort to come in and work with the different groups within our organization and have the opportunity to be exposed to a little bit more of what we do. And of course, in turn, we can be exposed to other talents, perspectives, experiences as well. So I think for us right now, it's a fantastic opportunity to engage with yourselves and partner with service providers that can offer us the opportunity and the reach to candidates that we could really benefit from bringing in either through our own recruitment or these work experience programs. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to open that up for questions, but just before we get to the questions, because a couple of the panel members have to leave a little bit early, I'm going to do the door prize right now. So, yeah. Should be all right. Okay. So I'm going to get Chantel. Choose a card. Oh, it's somebody from Prospect. Oh, Wilmer. We didn't plan this. Okay, so Shane has a microphone that he'll be passing around. So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand, and then Shane will come around with the microphone. First question.
Hi, my name is Haley. I'm calling from Calgary Alternative Employment Services, and I had a question for, I believe the last speaker was Jen.
Yeah.
How many people would you say transition to competitive paid employment, sort of in long-term positions, from your paid work experience program?
So as we are new in the process, we have partnered with organizations primarily around New Immigrants of Canada, CWA, YWCA, and through the individuals that have come in through the work experience program, we've had 5 that have stayed on out of 7 that we've brought in through our work experience program. I had an individual come up to me the other day that was crying because she was so excited that she had been just awarded a permanent position and couldn't thank us enough for the opportunities we've been able to provide for her through the work experience programs.
I have another question, since I have the mic. My other question was for Sarah. You had mentioned earlier on that your building was built sort of from the start for you guys, and that it was an accessible building, and then later on you mentioned that it wasn't accessible and there was trouble with the elevator. So I was just confused.
No, at my previous company, we had actually designed and built our new headquarters ourselves, so we had made it fully accessible. But then in my new company, the building that we're leasing right now is quite old, and so that's kind of what started part of all of those what if questions. What if something happens now and we need to accommodate someone? Our building isn't very accessible right now. Like, even if someone was to show up for an interview who's in a wheelchair, they can't even get up to the front door, right? So
does your company have a current plan in place to make your building more accessible?
right now, the new building that we're putting together up at the airport for our new manufacturing facility, that one will be accessible. Once that one is done, they're going to start doing some changes to our current one. However, because it's a leased building, there's a lot of red tape we're going through with the actual building owner. So,
thank you.
That noise.
Any other questions? Do we have any questions online? We had technical issues on the online, so they didn't hear the audio for about 90% of it. However, we did record everything, so they could watch it later. We have a question, Kelly.
It's actually Helena.
Sorry.
I have a question for anyone from the ENMAX team. When you're talking about positions within your IT department and some of the challenges you're having there, are you able in any way to accommodate any of the sort of adaptive technology that a potential employee would require?
Yes, absolutely. And I know part of our work, you know, so Jenna's work as far as getting us as an organization past and beyond just being compliant with the law is to take a look at what does this really cost an organization to provide these tools, even in a work experience setting, where we're giving someone who's facing a barrier the opportunity to come and work at ENMAX and use this as a reference or potentially be hired on. And I think the research that Jenna presented both to management and to our president of CUPE was the fact that most of these accommodating technologies cost less than $500. And even then, the fact is, once we bought it, it's not of a benefit to any employee, either now or in the future. So it's not cost prohibitive, and certainly, you know, we are of a size of an organization where it really shouldn't be an inhibitor, but there is a perception that it is super expensive. The reality of what Jenna's research showed us was that it's quite rare that it's going to be that expensive. So yes, we do.
I think just to add to that as well, the opportunity to be able to provide those accommodations potentially could offer the message throughout the organization as well that we do offer those opportunities, and it's okay to address them and discuss them and determine what needs to change. So it's an opportunity we see to provide not only for that individual but for the company as a whole.
I just wanted to add to what Alana was saying, is that in case you require some ideas or further support on that, please connect with us, CNIB.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shane, any other questions?
Has ENMAX accessed DRES, the disability-related employment supports, for some funding regarding the assistive technology, because that is available for employers and individuals?
This is great for us to know and learn about. Again, we're just, as I mentioned, in the starting phases. So what I'd like to do is just to reach out to anyone here and offer for you to come to our office, see where we work, experience a little bit of our culture, and then of course from there take the next steps that you can provide to us as far as expertise and information. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
This question is for anyone, any of the panel members from ENMAX. I'm just wondering if you could give a brief overview of the process towards a placement.
Is that in regards to our overall recruitment process? Is that, or for the work experience program specifically?
Specifically for the work experience.
Okay, so I can speak to that. Ultimately, we are going to adopt the same recruitment process that we would for any external candidates. In this case, though, we wouldn't necessarily post on external websites. We would partner with those service providers and organizations to identify individuals that are available in the marketplace right now. We would then in turn talk to our business units to identify whether or not there is a need. Once we've established both sides of that, then working with our business partners, we would set up interviews, face-to-face interviews with the hiring manager and a recruitment advisor, determine from there who the successful candidate was. To join and work with ENMAX, we do require completing a criminal background check, so that would be part of the process as well. And then throughout the program, it would be follow-up, there would be work performance evaluations, and at the end, obviously the opportunity to have a professional reference or recommendation from the individual they've worked with. If there's an opportunity after the work term to be considered for a permanent position, these individuals are still considered an external candidate. They still would have to apply. Internal candidates within the organization are still considered first and foremost, and they would have to go through the recruitment process again to be considered for an opportunity with ENMAX, either limited term or permanent. For now, yeah, I think that overall we're going to stretch it through our recruitment team, but yes, I can be the point of contact for now. Thanks.
Okay, so we have a question from online here. First question is open to all the panel. The question is there any one thing that they wish service providers would do differently or could do better when approaching and working for your company?
For me personally, I'm all about networking, and so whether that's on, a few people have mentioned already, LinkedIn, online networking is great, but I also love to be at networking events, whether it's through the HR Association, Chamber of Commerce, you know, what have you. I find it better if we can have a personal discussion, just a 5-10 minute discussion about what you have, then we can take this, you know, into a one-on-one meeting in my workplace or your workplace. That's what works for me.
I just wanted to ask if you could please speak about the range of opportunities that you might have available as far as the commitment level. Are these full-time opportunities, part-time opportunities, casual work, and maybe across the board, if you could speak to that a bit.
I don't. Go ahead.
I tend to hire mostly frontline positions, so it might be member services, serving positions within food and beverage, and it could be anything from a cafeteria, restaurant, or banquets. We've also got a retail shop in our facility, so retail clerks. With our parking issues recently, we're now hiring parking attendants. Now, it's very rare that we have casual employees. We have part-time employees that will take up casual hours in other areas. But yeah, most of the positions are permanent, whether it's part-time or full-time.
At Flexpipe, all of our positions are permanent full-time roles. The closest we get to part-time is when we do work placements through CEWA or YWCA or Bow Valley, where we'll get someone in for 10 weeks, but every Friday they have courses. So we create roles especially for them, where they only have to work the 32 hours a week, and then they have that one day off to do their courses still. But in general, it's all permanent full-time right now.
I think for us it's across the board. So it would be everything. There's casual, there's limited term, which is anywhere from 3 to 12 months usually. There's permanent, and then there's of course our work experience programs as well. So we offer all types and schedules for individuals to come in.
I would add to that, the call center is shift work, and they do offer part-time. There's a very small percentage of people that actually that is what they want, is to work part-time. They're not taking it for now hoping to get a full-time hours. It truly suits their lifestyle, and so that's what we recruit to very specifically. It's not a bait and switch, as in that's the only way in is to take a part-time job. No, just the opposite. We want people who only want to work part-time hours, and they have maybe a life situation where part-time is exactly all they want. And it was I'd say the first 3 years that we tried part-time failed. Those people didn't really want part-time. So we really focused a tremendous amount of effort in the recruitment process to ensure that we communicated it properly, that we talked about it, and we really got to know people. Like, why do you really want to work part-time? And that's been very successful. Our focus this last year and our success rate was a lot of students who want full-time hours through the summer, which is great for us for relief and vacation coverage. And then they go part-time when they go back to school. And they want the Saturday shift, or they want the evening shift. So it really does cover them all.
And just to add to that, just to kind of explain how we got those people to the tables, we actually created a video. We had a testimonial from somebody from the call center who was working part-time and going to school, and just put an authentic video together and just displayed it out. And it really helped in attracting the right people.
So I have one more question from online here. The question is, as employers, would they find efficient if there is one point of contact that works solely with the service providers in regards to either an applicant or the application process?
Without having the experience, I think that the answer is usually yes, just because it's easy to streamline and always have the information flow through one individual. But again, we're just learning about what the easiest and most efficient ways are. But it seems like it would probably make the most sense.
Yeah, from my experience, like I think I mentioned about a year ago, we were sending out like an email out to a number of providers with our postings, and I'll be honest, I stopped doing that because of the hassle. I'm sorry to use that word, but it would be a 2-week process of getting different responses from different groups, and I'm a department of 1 in my organization, and so I felt like the time that was being used to address all the questions and whatnot that followed each posting, I could better allocate to other stuff within the club. And so I'll be honest, I did stop sending it out to the group. We still do post every once in a while with Viable Calgary's job posting service. But yes, it would be helpful to have a central point. And also with respect to, like, I find that Viable and our Prospect they're both fantastic, where if I've got a question about, you know, we're trying to develop an internal training program focused on this. Do you have resources, or can you refer us to somebody in this regard? And they've been fantastic in that way. So, you know, that has been very, very valuable to us.
Okay, we have another question online. Is there anything service providers are doing now in how they work with you that isn't working or could be more effective for you?
So there was one service provider that I found, and we gave them this feedback and this coaching, is when they have their graduating class, or those that have gone through the program, and they send us profiles or summaries of these individuals' skills and their previous experience, but they took the name off. So kind of like what Jenna was saying, how, and I think also Chantal was saying, when we need someone, chances are you won't have someone. So we took the opposite approach in that when we have groups that come to us and say, here's the individuals that have just come through our program, what we do is basically market them on your behalf to our leaders who we know understand and have experienced the value of bringing in individuals in work experience. And so taking the names off made it really impersonal. It made it, you know, if I could say even a first name, and that it was a feedback piece to them. They just had candidates 1 through 10 and a summary of their experience, right? No, these are real people. I want to call them by name. So that was, and I don't know, did they change their process, their referral process? Do you remember, Jenna?
Yeah, they will going forward. We haven't been through it yet, but they will.
Yeah. So that would be my feedback piece.
The other thing to add to that too is come meet with us. Come see our office. Come see our environment. Not everybody does that, and the feedback that we get from those that do is that it's a huge insight and benefit to them to understand how to then relay it to their clients that they're working with. And I'm always available to meet with anyone that wants to come down and see what we do and where we work.
The one thing I would say too is listen to us. We're located in the Foothills Industrial Area, so for anyone who applies, whether they're coming from a vendor or from a referral or from applying online, whatever, I always let them know we're in the industrial area. The bus line that used to run in front of our building no longer runs, so it does take a while to get to work, right? So I always ask all of our candidates to, to take a look at our address and see, are we, if you want to take transit to work, are you willing to make that commitment? For myself, where I live in the city, it'd be 2 hours and 10 minutes to get to work if I took transit. So I need to have that car because I can't wake up at 4 in the morning, right? So, but we've had one vendor who continuously sends us people who live in the outskirts of the city and don't have access to vehicles. So after 2 days on the job, they say that they're not coming back because it's too much time on transit, right? So, hopefully the city of Calgary runs that bus line again until that happens. We are kind of hooped, right? So that's kind of that was our frustration with that particular vendor, is that they kept sending us candidates without actually going through this with them, letting them know that we are in an area that's not very easily accessible and things like that, right? So listen to what we say, what we need.
I kind of have a question in regards to what you were saying, Jenna, about being open to coming out and checking out your space and where you work, like a day in the life of ENMAX. So in general, just based on your experiences, how open are employers to doing like informational interviews and like a bit of job shadowing or checking out the environment to see if our clients would, fit it within that environment and for them to go check it out for themselves?
I think everybody, or most of the groups that we've worked with up to date, are very much open to providing information around what they do. As far as job shadowing, it becomes a little bit more complicated with safety involved. So making sure that whatever area you're going to learn about, you have proper equipment if you require it, or have been through the orientation first. So it would really depend on the group or the area. But as Sean was referencing, our experience last week really represented that everybody really loves to talk about what they do and share what they do. So we really found, at least with our organization with ENMAX, people are more than happy to educate and talk about and inform people that either work within our company or are interested in working within our company. It was actually really exciting to see the enthusiasm that everybody put in. It was pretty incredible. So I don't ever see there being an issue with that at all if anybody wanted to come down.
I think, though, your question was about your clients, right? Not necessarily you as a representative of your organization. Was that your question?
Yeah,
Yeah, so, and that was going to be my other ask of service providers, is if you are offering your clients the work experience or work practicums, it's not really something we can accommodate if it's 100 hours. Because in 100 hours, the time that it takes, so there's I guess a productivity break. So if somebody's going to commit to developing someone, the fact is at 100 hours, they're barely learning where we keep the pens. So to be really effective, that is also for your clients as well as for our leaders that have said, yes, I see the value, and we've seen, like Jenna said, 5 out of 7 we've hired. They're absolutely wonderful. And we see them around in the company. They just don't stop smiling. I mean, they're really delighted, really delighted. So, but all that to say, there's still a time commitment on behalf of the leader. Because when you hire someone new, whether they have any sort of barrier to the workforce or not, you still have to set time aside for them. So do we have the luxury of extra time of bringing people in for a day in the life? Part of my vision of what ENMAX will do in the next 3 to 5 years is something along that line. Are we set up today for it, where we could have people come in and job shadow? I doubt it. I doubt, and I think you'll hear that from most employers because everyone is stretched to the max. I see some people nodding. You're obviously from HR. Yeah, so there's just, it's literally impossible, even to Jenna's passion and commitment to having an inclusive workforce and ensuring that ENMAX reflects the community that we live in is rare. I don't know too many organizations that have this as part of her deliverable to the company. That's a luxury. It is. I think most companies, especially in oil and gas, those people are working 10 hours a day. To return your phone call, they're doing it on their personal time or on their lunch hour. Do we have a better work-life balance at ENMAX? Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. We do. We don't have a workaholic culture. And I know that is very unique. I can't say that. I worked in oil and gas. And if I left at 7, they were like, how come you're leaving so early? Whereas at ENMAX, the VP is walking by my desk saying, why are you still here? It's a very different culture. We really do have a work-life balance. So, long-winded way to say very few companies would ever be able to do that.
And informational interviews?
Very rare. Very rare. I mean, when you say informational interviews, that's, you know, the time we invest with representatives from Viable or CNIB or any of your organizations, that's our time investment. We expect that you represent us to your client base. But informational interviews, even as 18 years in recruitment, I get, and I'm from the day where we were telling people at university to try and get an informational interview, it's really not even practical. Like really, if people have that sort of time on their hands, it's rare. It's rare, or they're doing it on their own personal time. It's really helping them get savvy on how to look for work in the year 2012. And it's not asking for an informational interview when I've got no job to fill. I have a deliverable to fill. We've got 100 open positions. And if I take out 2 hours to interview somebody I'm never going to place, that's setting wrong expectations for that individual too. So that's my personal opinion.
I concur. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question and then just make sure everyone gets out of here on time.
So my question that comes from online here, the question is, how can service providers keep from their applicants getting lost in the shuffle?
Well, I think the best way is to make sure that your applicant, like if it's an applicant for, you know, like an actual permanent full-time role, I think the best way is to make sure that your applicant actually meets the requirements of the role, right? And actually helping your candidate or your applicant target their resume to the role. I get so many resumes that you know that they're applying to so many different types of jobs with the exact same resume. I don't have time to read between the lines, and my hiring managers don't have time to read between the lines, right? So unfortunately, those are the resumes that get lost in the shuffle. But if you can help your candidates actually create a targeted resume that speaks to the key things that we're looking for, and anyone will tell you, like I think pretty much everyone I know in HR does the exact same thing. The key accountabilities for the role are the first things we highlight in any job description, right? Those are the things that we're looking for. There's very few people who don't really do it that way, right? So if you can help your candidates do that, then that'll decrease the chance they'll get lost in the shuffle, right? For an engineering position, an intermediate level, so 5 to 10 year engineer position here in Calgary, I can get anywhere from 60 to 75 resumes in a 3-week time span, right? And I have to help my managers go through all those, so I'm only going to look at the ones or forward the ones that actually took the time to write a proper resume. Right? So that's my personal view of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that we'll wrap everything up now. I just want to thank our remote captioner for captioning today's event. And I want to thank everyone for coming out, and special thanks to our panel of employers. If you have any questions or you want to talk to any of the employers, contact us, contact Viable Calgary. We'll put you in touch, or we'll give you the best way of getting in touch with them and answer your questions. So thank you very much for coming out today.